morning today. I want to introduce Danielle Murphy. She's with the Ohio Attorney General's office, and she's going to be filling you in on a lot of good information regarding senior scams. And again, we just want to thank you for coming, and if you have any questions or anything afterwards, please feel free to let us know. There are cookies and lots of beverages back there, so if anyone is interested in them, feel free to wave us down and we can bring something to you. Turn it over to Danielle. Thank you.
Good afternoon. How are you all today? Good. I see some familiar faces. For some reason, I've been in the area for, I was here last Friday at the Church of Christ, and I was at the Job and Family Services this morning, and I'm coming back next Tuesday to Allen Eyrie. Is that how you say it? So if you don't get enough of me today, you can catch me again on Tuesday. But I'm going to let the Attorney General open us up today. Maybe. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Ohio Attorney General Mike DeWine. Protecting Ohio families is my office's #1 priority. I'm glad you're here to learn more about scams and financial fraud targeting older adults. One of the best ways to prevent fraud and scams is having up-to-date information. This session will help you recognize scams and what to do if you think you have been taken advantage of by a business or a scam artist. I encourage you to listen, to ask questions, and to share stories during today's presentation. If you've encountered an unfair business practice or scam, please report that to my office. We are here to help.
So that was Attorney General Mike DeWine, and Attorney General Mike DeWine is our 50th Attorney General. I want to tell you a little bit about what our office does before I talk about some of the scams that are hitting people like you. Some of the duties of our office include that he's the attorney for the state of Ohio. He represents all elected officials, including the governor, secretary of state, or auditor's office. We also support local law enforcement, and we do that in a couple different ways. We have the Police Officers Training Academy in London, Ohio, and there all officers around the state of Ohio go to get training to make sure that Ohio citizens are safe. There's a high-speed track, there's a gun range, anything that they would need to protect Ohio citizens. We also have the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, which is also in London, Ohio. How many of you here like those shows like NCIS or CSI, the crime scene shows? Well, that's what the Bureau of Criminal Investigation does. They solve homicides, and they do that through DNA analysis and fingerprint analysis. It does, however, take our office longer than an hour to solve those crimes, though, whereas the shows are only an hour. So our office also enforces certain laws that are passed by the General Assembly, and these laws include charitable organizations, environmental protection, as well as consumer protections. And I'm here today from the Consumer Protection section of our office. Now, Consumer Protection section wants to ensure that businesses are not being deceptive. Through the Consumer Sales Practices Act, we enforce those laws. We're all consumers every day, whether we buy a cup of coffee, see an ad in a paper, or fill up our tank with gas. So we're there to make sure that businesses aren't being deceptive. So in 2014, our office saw more than 26,000 complaints from consumers like you. Here are the top 10. Number 1 is motorized vehicles. Maybe you purchased a new or used vehicle. Maybe your vehicle needed repairs. You took it and got shoddy service, or maybe they didn't do the repairs properly. Collections is number 2, household goods, and then number 4 is internet or phone or Cablevision. Those would fall under those complaints. So 3 years ago, our office created what's called the Economic Crimes Unit. There, we're able to help local authorities identify, investigate, and prosecute consumer fraud on a criminal nature. Now, what does that mean to you and I? Well, I want to introduce you to Todd and Jessica Steinhaus. Todd, also known as Papa Bear, and Jessica, also known as Boo Bear. They put up ads on Craigslist for ticket sales. Tickets to Kenny Chesney, the Super Bowl, NBA playoffs. Well, unfortunately, those ticket sales were fraudulent. There were no tickets to be had. These two were found in a trailer in Coshocton, Ohio, through our Economic Crimes Division, where they were able to scam more than $200,000 throughout the United States and Canada. So our Economic Crimes section was able to locate them, investigate, and now Papa Bear is serving 6.5 years in prison, and Mama Boo Bear is serving 4.5. So we are going after these individuals that are scamming us. So why exactly are seniors targeted? Well, it's been estimated that 60 and up seniors represent 15% of the population. Unfortunately, they bring in more than 30% of the reported fraud. Why is that? Well, seniors are a trusting and polite group of individuals, right? A handshake goes a long way. That's a deal. That's a deal. Retirement savings. Criminals think that you have worked, and you have worked hard all your life and saved so that you can have a comfortable retirement and you don't have to worry about it. Also, it's known that maybe you have more assets than most. Also, seniors are less likely to report fraud. Maybe someone's embarrassed. Maybe somebody doesn't even know that they've been scammed. So these are some reasons. Also, seniors are isolated or independent. Maybe family has moved out of town and you only have someone checking up on you once a week. So these are some of the reasons that the FBI came up with that seniors are targeted. So scammers use a variety of tactics to get to us, right? The telephone, constantly having robocalls or those automated calls trying to get us to pick up to get personal information from us. Letters, door-to-door solicitations, flyers, emails, phony websites, and even text messaging these days. So now I'm going to talk to you about some of the scams that are out there that our office sees. The grandparent scam. Well, one morning, Diane from Lancaster was sitting at her kitchen table having coffee when the phone rang. So as we all do, she looked at her caller ID and it said Columbus Police Department. So she picked up. Grandma? Jake, is that you? She said. Yes, Grandma, it's Jake, and I was in a car accident in Columbus. Okay, Jake, well, I need you to go to the drugstore and get a Green Dot money card and put $1,000 on it for bond and call this phone number. Okay, Jake, but Grandma, I'm supposed to be at school today, and I don't want you to tell Mom and Dad because I'm embarrassed. It was my fault, and we're in Columbus. Okay. So Grandma, go do that. Go get the $1,000. So Diane went to the drugstore, put $1,000 on the Green Dot money card, went back and called the phone number and gave them the number on the front of the card. And then she said she waited, and about an hour and a half later the phone rang, and this time it was Jake's attorney. Jake's attorney claimed that it was there were more problems than they had first expected. When they did more research about the accident, they found drugs in Jake's car. So now Diane was supposed to go and send $2,000 more for attorney and court costs. Well, luckily at that moment, Diane realized that this was a scam, that her grandson Jake would not have drugs in the car, so she hung up the phone. She called our office and filed a complaint. Unfortunately, we can't get that money back. It's like sending real live money. But we were able then to talk about it to you and everyone else, to tell you that this is happening. People are trying to scam other people. Our office would suggest that you would know something specific about your grandchildren. Maybe a little phrase or a nickname that you can ask your grandchild to know that it's them. And if they can't answer that question, hang up the phone. This scam also comes through the computer as well, through pop-ups, maybe an imposter scam where somebody's saying they're overseas, a friend took a vacation and lost their money, and they need to send money to them. These are all a variation of this scam. Another variation is the imposter scam, and I have some examples here of emails that have come to our office. These imposter scams, they try to be the Bureau of Criminal Investigation or a government agency, maybe the IRS, maybe a police department or a sheriff. And what they do is they say, last warning letter, if you do not do X, Y, and Z, we're going to come and arrest you. This one is an arrest warrant, and it looks official, it's in color, and there's the eagle. Now, I do want to share with you how easy it is to change things like an email address or create one that looks very official. My email address at the Attorney General's office is danielle.murphy@ohioattorneygeneral.gov. This came from david.johnson@attorneygeneralsoffice.us. So they look very official, they're trying to get you to act quickly and trying to use scare tactics for us to stop what we're doing and send money. So these are all examples of the imposter scam. The other thing that you want to be aware of is a government agency is not going to call you on the phone or send you an email. They're going to send you a letter through the U.S. Postal Service. This is how you know it's legitimate. So be aware of that as well. Home improvement fraud. Oftentimes we get complaints in our office about, door-to-door solicitations happen where maybe you get someone that comes to your door and they say, oh, I was just paving your neighbor's driveway and I have this extra material that I don't want to take back to the, company for a special fee today so I don't have to mess with it. We would like to, pave your driveway. Just know, don't ever give a contractor or a door-to-door solicitor upfront large amounts of money. Give a third down, and maybe when a contractor is halfway through the work, you can give another third, and then wait till the job's completed and you're happy with it to give the rest of the money. So this is another variation. Oftentimes we've had complaints where maybe there's a storm and these scammers go at night and they'll tear a limb down in your backyard, and then the next day they knock and they say, look at that tree, it's dangerously hanging over your neighbor's property and you're going to be stuck with the damages. Let me take care of it and cut it down for you. And then all of a sudden they have to go back to their shop and get the right equipment because they don't have it, and they take your money and they run. So just be aware of all of these things that could happen. Phishing. Phishing is just a term that we use. It's just when someone's trying to get personal information from you. So for instance, all those electronic voicemails that we get, or that's on our phone when we get home. For instance, Rachel from Cart Services, do we all remember her? She sweeps through the areas often. She wants personal information. Never give personal information out over the phone. This is just a tactic to get our information. Last fall when I was doing the health fair here at this facility, somebody who was at one of the table, a professional woman, said that she was on her computer and she had a pop-up and it was the computer repair scam. And we'll talk about that a little more, but they're just wanting personal information. When you click on those links, don't fill out the information. It can come through the phone, it can come through the computer, it can also come through text messaging. So the fake check scam. Sometimes this also ties in with the prizes or sweepstakes scams. I have a fake check. I have several here that actually came through the Attorney General's office. They look very official. They're in color. They are for a certain amount of money, and usually what they want you to do with these checks is they want you to deposit it into your account, and because there's a waiting period, they want you to pull out your own money and send them fees or taxes, whatever is associated with it. Oftentimes with the prizes or sweepstakes scams, you'll get a list of free items that you're going to get. When you deposit this check, however, there is always a fee or some kind of a charge associated with it. Just be aware. More than likely, it's hard to win anything when we haven't entered something to win, right? So let's talk about some red flags of these scams that we've talked about. You've won a contest you've never entered. You know, we play the lottery to try to win, and that's difficult enough. How in the heck did we win this lottery when we didn't even enter anything, right? Claims of urgency. You have to act now. If you don't act immediately, something's going to happen. Or you must pay to receive a prize. In Ohio, you should win a prize outright. You should never have to pay. There are legitimate companies though, like vacation packages. Maybe they'll call you on the phone and say you've won a 3-day vacation. However, you have to sit through a presentation similar to this, and then they're gonna really try to get you to sign up. But they've stated that in the terms and agreement. They've stated that up front. Request for personal information is a red flag. Demands for large down payments. Refusal to provide written information. Maybe a contractor is working for you and they refuse to sign a contract. Some of these companies refuse to give an address, a phone number of where they're located. These are all red flags. Or guarantee that you will make money. These are all red flags. So in November of 2013, a con artist who was a bad guy and he was in prison for his crimes decided that he wanted to make people aware of the scams out there. So he wrote an article in Reader's Digest, and he said, you're only a victim when you don't ask a lot of questions, but you answer a lot of questions. You're also only a victim if you don't read the paperwork, but you wait for them to tell you what it says. And you're also a victim if you don't look why the offer is a scam, but you look for why the offer will make them money. So he says you want to be a skeptic. If someone's pitching you a deal, ask yourself, what's in it for this person? They took the time out of their day to come here and pitch this deal. There's got to be something in it for them, right? And he also wanted to warn people that when it comes to your home, never sign any paperwork until your attorney, a trusted family member or friend reviews that paperwork and reads it thoroughly. So those wonderful phone calls that we get, right? How many of you here are on the do not call list? Okay. That helps. So all the phone calls stopped, right? No. Unfortunately, we can't stop criminals from calling you, and we can't stop these robocalls. A robocall is really when somebody takes a list of multiple thousands of phone numbers and they just start dialing. So our office would suggest when you get those automated phone calls, try not to answer them. As soon as you pick up, they're going to know that that is an active line, and they're going to keep bugging you. If you can ignore it, those calls will eventually go away. It might take a while, and they're going to move on to the next set of numbers. Now, many people say, well, I have a answering machine that picks up. Well, if you notice that before your answer machine really gets through the greeting, you hear a dial tone. It knows the difference between a hard pickup and an answering machine. So the other thing that our office would suggest is oftentimes you get these robocalls or automated calls, and it wants you to push the number 2 or 3 to get on their internal do not call. Don't push any buttons either. That's just going to flag them that this is an active line as well. It's a computer system that just randomly calls all these phone numbers, and they don't know who they're calling. Some people say, oh, well, I like to mess with them or talk to them. It's really not worth it, because then you're flagged and your number is known. You can opt out. There are legitimate organizations and companies that can contact you even when you're on the do not call registry. Our office would suggest that you call and get on the do not call registry, and even call in your cell phone if you have one. This does deter some people from calling. The people that can contact you though when you're on the do not call registry are politicians, legitimate charities, any company that you have an active contract with. So for instance, I have a Verizon cell phone and I have a contract with Verizon. Verizon can call me from time to time to tell me if I have a deal through their company. And any organization conducting a poll or a survey can also contact you if you're on the do not call registry. So keep that in mind. You can opt out at some of these calls, like the legitimate companies or organizations and charities that are calling you. You can ask them to be put on their do not call internally. So the family and friends scams. Some things to look out for here is maybe we have a procedure and we have a caregiver coming into our home. If that caregiver starts asking a lot of questions about our savings or maybe our assets, this would be a red flag, and you would want to tell somebody that somebody's asking you these questions. If they start pressuring you to sign over things, also maybe forge signatures or maybe belongings become missing. These are all red flags that maybe a caregiver or a friend or a family is taking advantage of us. So the new best friend scam, I want to tell you a story. There was a gentleman from Columbus, Ohio, and his name's Peter Savaldi. Mr. Savaldi was one of the first brewmasters at Anheuser-Busch, and he was in his 90s. Mr. Savaldi was a self-made millionaire. Through work and thrift, he was able to save his money. He didn't even care. He wore the same pair of hush puppies for 40 years. Well, in his retirement, he moved to the Worthington Commons, which is in Columbus, Ohio, off of High Street. And a couple years into his retirement, a couple women befriended him. Well, he really loved the company. They went out to dinner and movies. And the only known relative that he had was a nephew who lived several states away. Well, these two women, like I said, became his new best friend. Well, one day when a bank teller noticed that one of the women was trying to transfer $50,000 from his account to hers, she had a red flag. So she called the police, and when the police started investigating, unfortunately, the women were able to get him to sign a power of attorney that he wasn't aware of, and they had already taken him for $850,000. So, these women spent his money on things like plastic surgery, condos, vehicles. They commissioned an artist to do sketches of their pets. They were really just using Mr. Savaldi. And the unfortunate part in all of this is he wasn't even so upset about the money that he had lost. It was the friendship that he thought he had gained that he had lost. So make sure you're talking to your friends and family members if you have them, or somebody, and telling them if people that, you know, just come out of the blue and all of a sudden start finding an interest in you. Luckily, the police officer that was involved in this case became friends with Mr. Savaldi. He didn't end up moving close to his nephew, but his nephew definitely checked on him more often. I looked it up about 3 months ago because I was curious if Mr. Savaldi was still living. Unfortunately, he died at the age of 93 just 2 years ago. But they were able to sell off some of those items and get some of his money back. Not anything close to what they took, but he was able to get some of that money back. So anyway, let's talk about identity theft. So there's some tips. One thing that you would want to remember is shred. You want to make sure that if you're on the computer, you strengthen your passwords online and use secure sites. I'll show you an example of what a secure site looks like in a minute. But when I say secure passwords, what you want to do is you want to make sure that if you have a computer, that each account you have a different password. I often suggest using a phrase. You want to make sure to use upper and lowercase letters along with symbols and numbers. And this would be a strong password. Handle personal identifying information with care. Make sure that you're shredding the information that has account numbers on it. Your checking account, your credit card information, all of these things that have personal information and important information. Read your credit report annually. Everybody gets one free credit report a year from the 3 credit reporting agencies. Those 3 credit reporting agencies are Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. Our office would suggest that when you go to annualcreditreport.com, which is a free, secure website, or the phone number is also on your identity theft information, you would ask for one of the agencies to pull your report, wait 4 months, call back, ask the other one to pull your report. That way, throughout the year, you're pulling your free report 3 times. It doesn't affect your credit score to pull your credit report. And this way, I know off the Anthem data breach has happened recently, and 80 million people's information has been compromised. So this is just a way to check to make sure that your information isn't out there and someone's not using it. This is an example of annualcreditreport.com, and I said to you to make sure it's a secure website. If you do it online, in the URL or the address up here, after HTTP, there's an S. That S means that website is secure, and any information that you put into it is encrypted. You can also, or may also, see a lock up there. That also means that it's a secure website. So unfortunately, identity theft is fast growing. Because of that, the Attorney General's office created an identity theft unit. There, if you think that you've been a victim of identity theft, we offer 2 types of assistance: traditional assistance and self-help assistance. The traditional assistance is the most common. That's where you would get an advocate to work to get the credit back established in your name with all the creditors and debt collectors and so forth. The self-help assistance is if you feel comfortable working with your creditors on your own to get that information back, we would give you a checklist or a worksheet and tell you the steps that you need to take. So, staying safe on the computer. You want to make sure to maintain a clean computer and make sure that you're installing and maintaining antivirus and anti-spyware program. Don't just count on the anti-spyware and anti-virus protection that comes with your computer. It does not run enough, and you'll get viruses that come into your computer. You can go to this website. It's called staysafeonline.org to get suggestions on anti-virus and anti-spyware protection. So, many of us who have email often get emails from legitimate friends that are in our contacts, right? We get those emails and it's a link. Well, we would suggest not to click on that link. It more than likely is not the cute little bunny rabbit playing the piano or kitty cat. It's a virus, and it wants to infect your computer and look for account numbers and credit card information. That's what some of these viruses do. So if you think that you've gotten sent, or a lot of times we get forwards, forward, it's a funny story, or it's a chain letter. If you think it's a legitimate link, call your friend before you click on it. But we would suggest putting it into your spam or deleting it and not replying. Beware of those pop-ups, like I said. They just want personal information. It was unfortunate, but was it last spring that the Malaysian plane went down? There was this scam on Facebook, and it was a pop-up, and it was an advertisement, and it said, Malaysian plane found. More than 50 people known to be alive. Click here for more information. Well, once you click there, guess what they want? Your name, your address, personal information. They're fishing for personal information. And obviously, we all know, unfortunately, that plane still isn't found. So these scammers want to pull at people's heartstrings, and they want to get us to click on these things. Just be aware of that. If many of us go to McDonald's or the coffee shop and we use their Wi-Fi, you want to make sure not to do any banking or any shopping online. It's unfortunate, but scammers can also create a Wi-Fi. They can create a Wi-Fi that looks like a McDonald's Wi-Fi, but it's not secure, and they can sit there and watch your keystrokes a mile up the road. So you want to be careful not to be doing any banking or shopping on these Wi-Fi. Did I skip something? Oh, yeah. Also, did I talk about the computer repair scam? I'm missing the slide. Anyway, the computer repair scam, that is a hot scam right now. Unfortunately, my mother-in-law, who lives here in Tiffin, a couple years ago got a laptop, She wanted to stay close to my husband and I, who live in Columbus, Ohio. Well, she hated that computer because it was frustrating. It ran slow, there were pop-ups, all kinds of advertisements. She couldn't do what she wanted to do. She wasn't really that, savvy on the computer. So when she got the phone call from Microsoft saying that they were going to help her clean up her computer, she jumped at the chance. Luckily, she was only out $150. However, she did give the person access to her computer who did nothing. But unfortunately, what can also happen is while they're in there taking over your computer, they can shut it down. And then you're stuck having to take it to another computer repair place and get that malware or spyware or the virus taken off of your computer. So be aware of the computer repair scam. We just did a phone bank in Columbus, Ohio when the Anthem data breach happened, and also for Consumer Protection Week, and we were getting many people complaining about the computer repair scam. Nobody's gonna know that you have a virus on your computer by just picking up the phone and calling you, but they're gonna tell you that, and they're gonna try to use a scare tactic to get you to do that. Use a trusted source. Make sure you take a computer to a computer repair place or ask family and friends for someone that's legitimate. So if, for instance, because I am from the consumer protection section, you encounter a deceptive business practice, let me give you an example. Maybe you see an ad for a buy one, get one pair of shoes for free. This is a pair of shoes that you like and you've bought before, and you decide that you're gonna go back to the store and get two different colors. And you know that those shoes are typically about $40. Well, once you get to the store, they're now $80. This business is trying to take the sale or the free item and put it onto the consumer, and that's deceptive. And our office would want to know about it. But what you can do on your own is most legitimate businesses want to work with you. They want your business. So you could call up the business and you could tell them what had happened, give them what you want your $40 back, and give them a deadline. Make sure that you keep all your paperwork. Anytime that you call that business, make sure that you log that as well. But if for some reason you can't get a resolution to your problem, you can contact our office and we're there to help. We have what we call informal dispute resolution process, which is free. And we will, a complaint specialist will be assigned to your account, and they will try to call the businesses and get the resolution that the consumer is wanting. You can file a complaint 3 different ways: online, by phone, or through the mail. And again, this is the informal dispute resolution process where we're going to try to work with the business to get a resolution. So I'm going to leave you with 5 rules to live by. Make sure you're researching companies before using them. You can contact our office and ask our office what complaints have been filed against this business. The BBB's website, or you can call them, they rate all businesses A through F. They give them an A through F rating. And you can see right online how many complaints have been filed against that company. Also know that all legitimate companies have to file through the Secretary of State's office, so you could also contact them. Read the fine print. Don't let somebody else tell you what a contract says. Make sure you're reading that contract before you agree to it. Remember your rights as a consumer. Reconsider the purchase. Maybe this purchase is a large purchase. Maybe it's gonna tighten you financially. Take your time before making a decision on those purchases. And report fraud. I can't come to organizations like this and talk to you guys about the scams out there, like Diane from Lancaster with the grandparent scam, or shoddy businesses, if people like you don't call our office and complain. So that 800-282-0515 number is where we would ask you guys to call and report things that are happening in your area so we can get the word out to other consumers. So on the back, if you do have an email account or a computer, there's a sign-up sheet for a newsletter that our section puts out. We may write about some different companies that we've prosecuted and taken out. We may tell you that there's a new scam that's targeting your area. These are all things that you'll get every other month. It would come to you, and you can always opt out of getting that at any time as well. So here are some resources. The Better Business Bureau, like I said, make sure to be doing your research on companies. The Do Not Call Registry, make sure you're all registered for the Do Not Call Registry. Opt-out programs. Many times we all get those through the mail for credit cards. We're pre-approved. You can opt out from getting those as well. And then annual credit report is on here with the number and the website where you can pull your credit report if you think that your information may have been compromised and you're just not sure. So at this time, I'd be happy to take any questions you might have or stories of scams that are targeting you guys. Yes.
1 week I got Rachel from Card Services, Senior Life Alert, RX Systems, GE Services, Pain Management Program, and Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
And these are all scams, I know that. They
Yeah.
go on the internet and they don't exist.
Right.
Those are the calls I can call you about.
You can call us.
Because wherever they're calling from.
Right. Well,
State,
yeah.
is it federal or state?
So what you can do about the calls, and I know that they're very frustrating to people, like I said, if you can try to ignore them and not pick up the phone.
Turn my phone off, I get 2 to 3 every
Yeah.
Danielle, we couldn't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry, she couldn't hear the question. The question was, she has gotten in the last week probably about 5 different calls. Microsoft, Rachel from Cards, Rachel from Card Services, many others, and she's wondering what she can do. If she should call our office to complain about these people and write the numbers down.
I'm calling the Do Not Call registry thing, and I don't know if that's the right jurisdiction, or if they can do anything, or, you know.
Yeah, she's asking, she's wondering what we can
Probably
do.
interstate, international.
Like I said, unfortunately, these are criminals. Most of them are robocalls. Most of them are from out of the country and out of the state. I do know, because I have done this process, that if you do call and complain and say, I got a call from Microsoft, this is the number that came up on caller ID, I want them to stop calling me. That complaint will go to someone who will look up and try to call that phone number. More than likely, it is not a legitimate phone number. Maybe it goes to an answering service. Maybe it doesn't. Like I said, these are criminals that we can't find. We will call those phone numbers, and if we do get somebody that answers, we will ask them to stop calling you until, but many times we have people that call, and there's thousands of phone numbers. They change. Rachel from Card Services, if you notice, her number changes every time because it's a computerized system. There's nobody on the other end until you push the magic number or they get the right information. So you can call our office if it, or just try to take the tips of ignoring it, don't push any of the buttons. It will eventually go away. Maybe they got your information, but more than likely, it's a robocall.
They know my name though.
Yeah,
The one with.
one of them knows your name.
Management program, knew my name.
Yeah, and it's hard to
I don't
tell.
know my name anywhere with my phone records.
Right,
And so that was kind of where
Yeah.
they get this.
yeah. You'd be surprised how they get our information. I asked one of our investigators in the office one day, I said, okay, my mind doesn't really think like a criminal. So how do they get our information? Where do they go? Well, unfortunately, there's what we call the black web or the deep web, and it isn't even that deep, where criminals know that they can go, they can There's sales for credit card numbers for $25 that are active. There's people's names and addresses and phone numbers that some people over in another country want to use for different services like Happy Jack. They want free long distance services. So they may use my name and address just to get a Happy Jack to be sent somewhere else. So it's really hard to get, like I said, these criminals to stop calling us. We can only just let it go to our answering machine. I often tell people if you don't have a caller ID, if something's wrong with somebody or there's an emergency, in the time that that answering machine picks up, you're gonna know within a minute that there's a problem and you can pick up the phone at that time.
Where are they getting the technology for the robocall?
Where are they getting the technology for the robocalls? The internet, computer systems. They just purchase all thousands and thousands of phone numbers or put them in this computer system and it starts calling all these numbers. And it's waiting to see if a phone number's active or somebody picks up. They're just, and yeah, it doesn't matter if you have a computer or not. They're gonna call you. They're gonna call you and say, oh, I know that you have a virus on your computer, because the chances of somebody not having a computer this day is a lot less than somebody that does. My friend said that she got a call like that. She was at her dad's house. He didn't have a computer and she hung up. But they're gonna try because they're criminals. Yes.
We had a lawyer tell us that let the phone ring at least 4 times, because if it's a robocall, somebody usually picks up before the 4th ring. So just let it ring.
She said that she had an attorney friend tell her to let the phone ring 4 times if it's a robocall.
If it's somebody, they'd call a number of people, and whoever picks up first is the one they can talk to. So just let it go.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Let the phone call go if you can.
And if they really want to get a hold of you, they'll call back.
Yeah. They'll keep calling.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a different type of scam that someone I know was scammed. She had a cleaning lady that came in, and that cleaning lady came in every couple of weeks. And 1 week there were 2 women that showed up at the door. The regular cleaning lady and her helper. After that incident, she lost some jewelry. She couldn't watch all of them. Or painters that you contracted for one person to paint, and all of a sudden they come and they have their friend that's gonna help.
So she's saying that businesses or people, companies that are coming into your home, like a cleaning lady or someone that's gonna paint or maybe do for some reason to be in your home, they start off single person, and then they end up bringing a partner so that the person at the home can't watch both of them, and then items become missing. That's something else.
You feel like a fool standing at the door saying, gee, I didn't know Jenny was coming with you, or Peter, or whoever
Right.
it was. You can't come in, but you gotta wise up to that.
Yeah, you have to not be so polite, like I said, unfortunately, with some of these. And I know that even in the area, some of these contractors, local contractors, may not be the best business people as well. I've heard some stories. So you just need to protect yourself, and you can say no. If you do get somebody on the phone, for instance, I was given an identity theft presentation this morning, and unfortunately we can't always trust our caller ID. It's called spoofing, where through the internet they can download an app, and these criminals can put any business and any phone number in the caller ID. For instance, like the grandparent scam. Diane from Lancaster picked up the phone because she just said Columbus Police Department with a 614 area code. You may get a phone call from what looks like it's your bank and it have a 419 area code. So because unfortunately we can't always trust our caller ID, our office would suggest that if somebody's asking you personal questions or account information, say, I don't do business on the phone. Hang the phone up, look up the company or the organization's legitimate phone number and call them back. Ask them if they contacted you, and more than likely they probably didn't, unfortunately. So we can just take little steps and have the knowledge that we need to try to protect ourselves. Yeah.
What about people that call that say they are representing your utility? A good one is the gas or the electric company, and they need you to get a bill in front of you. And then as soon as you get a bill in front of you, then they transfer you to a specialist. And
Right.
what they want is that, I think it's the transmission line number, it's like 15, 20 to 25 numbers on your bill. And once they have that, they can change how you get your.
Right.
your
So, when I do the table events, like at the health fair, the Ohio Consumers Council is the organization that deals with these gas and electric companies. It is legal, and you can pick your own, and they're gonna want you to pick them, but there are also scammers out there. So first of all, if one of them comes to your door, don't let them in your house, and never give them your bill, because there's account information, and they can, and if they're not legitimate, they can get your account information. They can also see what you're currently paying, so even if their rates are lower, they may not have to go quite as low because you're still gonna save money. So you can contact Ohio Consumers Council, and they have lists of the legitimate electric and gas companies, as well as how much they're gonna charge. And like I said, it isn't necessarily a scam, but never give them your bill and never let them in your house. Just do your research before changing companies. And if somebody calls you and claims that they're changing your company automatically, call our office and file a complaint against them. Okay, well, if, one more?
I'm concerned right now, I'm starting to use doctors.
Uh-huh.
All these records that are now going into the system.
Medical records.
That we're in this computer world now. all the
Right.
medical records and data are going in there. How secure is that gonna be?
Well, I
We're
can't,
talking hospitals, doctors,
Right.
everybody in this.
it's as secure as Anthem's information is out there. Unfortunately, they're taking steps to make sure that it's secure, but the bad guys are one step ahead. So what we can do as consumers is be one step ahead. Make sure that we're not sharing our personal information. We're checking our credit reports. We can put a fraud alert or a freeze on our credit if we think we might have been a victim, or maybe maybe we were compromised through the Anthem data breach. There was also a Target data breach. There was also a Home Depot data breach. So all of these things, we can only look out for ourselves and our own information, make sure we're shredding account information, make sure we're not sharing personal information, and make sure we're checking our credit reports. You can put a fraud alert on your credit report, and it makes it harder for thieves to get our information. It's free to place. It stays on your credit for 90 days. It does not affect your credit score. And after 90 days, if you want to put the fraud alert back on, you can do it again. And then there's other ways, if you have been a victim or think you've been a victim of identity theft, you can put a freeze on your credit, where nobody can get your credit, even you. Now, not to say that you can't use your current credit and credit cards, you just can't get new credit and more.
Or insurance. If I go for auto or home.
You can have it lifted, usually, yeah. Mm-hmm.
They can't get into that.
Right, yes.
I had another concern that all this information, when I go to the doctors, it's in a file laying there, and not knowing who has access, because they want your name and all the, bells and whistles and the doctor's records.
Right.
I don't trust anybody.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't trust the staff, I don't trust insurance company staff, I don't trust anybody.
Yeah.
That's a big
And
deal.
we have so much information that, I'm questioning now whether to give, even when I fill out resumes for a job,
Right.
that you don't get my social security number
Right.
until you ask me to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we can only take steps to protect
Because
ourselves.
I don't know how much you are gonna protect me
Right.
through your business.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing, you have to give, when they ask for your social security, doctor's office, just take a
Yeah.
doctor's office. For instance, when they ask for that social security on that, you have to put.
He's
your social
wondering
security
if we
in there?
have to give our social security number, for instance, when doctors or hospitals ask us for it. It depends. I mean, I had a procedure this last summer, and I did provide my social security number because they want to make sure that if your insurance doesn't go through, that you're gonna pay for these, procedures. So, I mean, some they do. Obviously, the state has noticed that there's an issue, and so it doesn't have to be on your driver's license anymore, and they're taking steps. But yes, some companies still need that information to do business.
I X out my first number and all I use my last four.
Okay,
I started.
that works.
I started doing that and they haven't said anything to me.
okay. Did you have one question, one more?
Well, just a comment. My Visa card has information online, and I went online and I read about it. And when I called them up, and I can only use my Visa card in Ohio. If I travel out of state, I call them and tell them that I'm going to be out of state. And then they open up my credit card, and they want to know which states I'm going to be in. And then when I get back to Ohio, I call them and I close the gap again.
Okay.
Yeah, it's through my Visa that I have it, and I don't know how many other credit cards, but just a suggestion.
Yeah. So she was saying that her visa only is active in Ohio, and if she travels out of state, she has to notify that company, and then they'll open it up. It's also a good practice if you're going to be traveling out of state or out of the country, you should let your financial institutions know that as well, because this day and age, when you do a transaction at the gas station and you get home and you pull up your computer, it is there. They know, so they can watch and they can see and they can stop this from happening as well.
There's also emails that you can get. If you get email, if there's a charge over a certain amount, I put a $300 limit on. Every time I charge something over $300, I get an email, just like that.
Yep.
And for certain, and you just have to go to the credit card website, read the fine print, and put what you want on there. You can personalize it.
Well, thanks for coming, everyone, and enjoy the sunshine today.